Malaysia to develop ASEAN TVET certification and excellence hub. Polls open in Seoul to select a new president. Good afternoon, you're watching World Today. I'm Berita RTM. South Koreans began voting Tuesday for a new president, capping 6 months of political upheaval following ex-leader Yoon Suk-yeol's disastrous declaration of martial law. Turnout is expected to be high, with polls open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. local time, following early voting on Thursday and Friday last week, when more than a third of the 44.39 million eligible voters cast their ballots. Both Liberal front-runner Lee Jae-myung and his Conservative rival Kim Moon-soo have pledged change for the country, saying a political system and economic model set up during its rise as a budding democracy and industrial power are no longer fit for purpose. The new leader will face the challenge of rallying a society deeply scarred by the attempt at military rule and an export-heavy economy reeling from unpredictable protectionist moves by the United States. Overshadowing any policy initiatives is Yoon's botched attempt to impose martial law that has loomed large over the poll. Lee has called the election Judgment Day against Kim and his People Power Party. Kim was Yoon's Labour Minister when Yoon declared martial law on 3rd December. Exit polls conducted by 3 television networks will be released at the close of the polls at 8 p.m. local time. Ballots will be sorted and counted by machine first, then triple-checked by election officials by hand to verify accuracy. The United Nations Secretary-General on Monday said he was appalled by reports of Palestinians killed and injured while seeking aid in Gaza on Sunday and called for an independent investigation. At a press briefing on Monday, UN spokesperson Stéphane Dujarric said the UN chief condemns the reported killings and injuries of the Palestinians and appealed for an immediate, permanent and sustained ceasefire.
Israel has a clear obligation under international humanitarian law to agree to and facilitate aid, humanitarian aid, the unimpeded entry of assistance at scale to meet the enormous needs of the people in Gaza must be restored immediately. The United Nations must be allowed to work in safety and security under conditions that fully respects our humanitarian principles. The Secretary-General continues to call for an immediate, permanent and sustained ceasefire. All hostages must be released immediately and unconditionally. This is the only path to ensuring security for all. There is no military solution to this conflict.
He also described worsening conditions on the ground, with hundreds of thousands of displaced and critical infrastructure under threat as aid deliveries remain severely restricted. Russia on Monday handed over to Ukraine a draft peace proposal during the second round of talks held in Istanbul. The Russian proposal is divided into 2 sections, one outlining steps towards achieving a full ceasefire and the other focused on reaching lasting peace. The United Nations spokesperson Stéphane Dujarric was also asked about Russia's proposal that a future peace deal be approved by a binding Security Council resolution.
Thank you, Steph. I have a follow-up question on Ukraine. Could you comment on Russia's proposal that a peace treaty with Ukraine must be approved by a legally binding UN Security Council resolution?
Let's get to an agreement. I don't want to comment on hypotheticals. I think it would be unwise and counterproductive at this point. I do want to add that obviously we hope that the talks that concluded in Istanbul could lead to a full, immediate and unconditional ceasefire as the first step towards a just, lasting and comprehensive peace in line with the UN Charter international law and relevant UN resolutions.
He said attacks over the weekend killed more than 20 civilians and injured over 100, including children, across several Ukrainian regions. The judge said aid workers were continuing evacuations and emergency support in areas hit hardest by the conflict. Elsewhere, the UN former Foreign Minister of Germany, Annalena Baerbock, was elected on Monday as President of the 80th session of the UN General Assembly, which will begin in September. Baerbock conveyed her gratitude for the overwhelming support from member states for her election. In the secret ballot on Monday, Baerbock received 167 votes in her favor, with 14 countries abstained. In her remarks, Baerbock expressed her commitment to serving all and said that her door will always be open to everyone amidst a better together.
Today we live in challenging times. We are walking on a tightrope of uncertainty. But the birth of the United Nations 80 years ago reminds us we have lived through difficult times before, and it's up to us to take on these challenges. We might come from different regions, from different backgrounds, we might see the world differently, and we might even disagree sometimes. But when we come together at the United Nations, we are all united by this common vision and by the founding principles of the United Nations.
The required majority.
Arguing that the challenges of the time are enormous, the current president of the General Assembly, Philemon Yang, said Baerbock's pledge to serve as an honest broker, to listen, build trust and foster dialogue across different divides is precisely what this assembly needs. Baerbock emerged as a candidate only in March, as she was about to step down as foreign minister following February parliamentary elections in Germany, replacing diplomat Helga Schmidt, whose candidacy for the UN role had been announced last year. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk on Monday called for a parliamentary confidence vote in a bid to demonstrate continued support for his pro-EU government after a nationalist candidate won the presidential election. Tusk said he would ask for a vote of confidence in the lower house soon in his coalition government.
Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk will carry for a parliamentary vote of confidence in his coalition government after his candidate Rafał Trzaskowski lost the presidential election on Sunday. Nationalist opposition candidate Karol Nawrocki narrowly won Poland's presidential election, delivering a blow to the centrist government's efforts to cement Warsaw's pro-European orientation. Tusk has been active in Polish politics since the fall of communism in 1989 and helped to found the liberal civic platform PO party. The first prime minister in Poland's post-communist history to win 2 terms in office, he led PO in government from 2007 to 2014. From 2014 to 2019, Tusk served as president of the European Council, playing a key role in Brexit negotiations.
Malaysia is forging strategic partnerships with international educational institutions and industry players, including those from the United Kingdom, UK, to develop a regionally recognized certification and Centre of Excellence for Technical and Vocational Education and Training (TVET). Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said the government aims not only to produce skilled workers but also to position Malaysia as a credible TVET training and certification reference centre for the ASEAN region.
So I urge all of you to contribute, not just as graduates, but as collaborators. Work with us to co-develop international training standards. Share your knowledge by mentoring scholars and TVET trainees. Champion joint research with Malaysian institutions. And most importantly, help us build strategic linkages between UK industries and Malaysia's TVET ecosystem, opening new pathway of cooperation, innovation, and global relevance.
Dato' Sri Ahmad Zahid, who's on a working visit to the United Kingdom, said this after delivering a keynote address on TVET at University College London UCL on Monday, which was attended by senior lecturers and students from the institution. Meanwhile, Dato' Sri Ahmad Zahid added that he had engaged in discussions with several ASEAN ministers responsible for employment and regional cooperation on TVET development. The National TVET Committee Chairman in his speech also said Malaysia is prepared to become a global platform for producing world-class TVET talent equipped to meet the demand of the industrial market. Coming up, Disney makes hundreds more layoffs as it cuts costs. Media company Walt Disney is laying off several hundred employees in film, television and corporate finance. A source familiar with the matter said on Monday. The layoffs affect multiple teams around the world, including film and TV marketing, TV publicity and casting and development, according to the source. The latest job cuts have followed major layoffs announced in 2023 when around 7,000 workers were let go as part of a drive by Chief Executive Bob Iger to save $5.5 billion. Disney also laid off nearly 6% or fewer than 2,000 people in the ABC News Group and Disney Entertainment Networks in March. The entertainment giant has been under pressure as viewers move away from cable TV subscriptions in favor of streaming platforms. Workers in Disney's casting and development and corporate finance departments will also be affected. The company's most recent earnings reports in May exceeded Wall Street expectations with an unexpected boost from the Disney Plus streaming service and strong results from theme parks. The California-based firm employs 233,000 workers, with just over 60,000 of those based outside the US. Disney owns a host of companies across the entertainment industry, including Marvel, Hulu, and ESPN. Syria's stock exchange reopened Monday after a 6-month suspension, with officials touting it as a significant move toward reviving the war-torn country's economy. Trading on the Damascus Securities Exchange halted as opposition-led forces pressed a lightning offensive, toppling long-time ruler Bashar al-Assad on 8 December. Syria's new authorities are seeking to create an attractive environment for foreign investment and launch the country's economic recovery after more than a decade of devastating conflict. 14 of 28 listed companies resumed activities on Monday, with the exchange's board of director Fadi Leilati calling the reopening a key step on the path of beginning economic recovery. The exchange reopened in a new headquarters in the town of Yafur near Damascus. Leilati said the boss faced many challenges, including integrating with global financial markets. Finance Minister Muhammad Barneh said the reopening was a reassuring message that economic activity is returning. Economy Minister Muhammad Nida Al-Sha'ar said Syria's economic environment is almost ready for investment, whether domestically from the Arab world or broader international community. A fire which erupted over the weekend at a drug rehabilitation facility in central Mexico had killed 12 people and injured 4 others. The tragedy struck at an annex of the Volve a Vivir Rehabilitation Center in San Jose Iturbide, Guanajuato, approximately 240 kilometers from Mexico City. Emergency services responded immediately after receiving a distress call through the 911 emergency system. Authorities have not yet released the identities of the victims, but they confirm that all the victims were being treated at the rehabilitation center. The Guanajuato Attorney General Office has launched an investigation to determine the cause of the deadly fire. According to local media reports, the victims of the fire had been locked up inside the rehab center. Mexico's privately run drug rehabilitation centers are often abusive, clandestine, unregulated, and underfunded. Mexican drug cartels have killed suspected street-level dealers from rival gangs sheltering at rehab facilities in the past. Some rainy weather has moved into Manitoba, Canada, but not nearly enough to extinguish wildfires threatening several remote communities. Air quality warnings have been issued for a larger swathe of Manitoba, though rain could bring some much-needed relief. The Environment and Climate Change Canada ECCC upgraded a number of air quality statements to warnings Monday morning in a larger portion of southern Manitoba, including Winnipeg, Steinbach and Lac-du-Bonnet. These areas join much of northern Manitoba, which have been under air quality warnings for days due to wildfires burning in the region and in northern Saskatchewan. However, the weather agency noted that smoke will improve with rain forecast through southern Manitoba, while northern communities under wildfire threat will likely have to wait until the weekend for precipitation. More than 17,000 people have been evacuated by wildfires in Manitoba, including 5,000 from Flin Flon. The outbreak from fire across of much western Canada north is due to unusually hot and dry conditions, and flames are consuming hundreds of thousands of hectares of tender dry forest and bushland. A huge plume of ash, gas and rock spewed forth on Monday from Italy's Mount Etna, as authorities warn people to steer clear of Europe's largest active volcano. Sicily's Mount Etna has been active recently, but Monday's eruption was the most dramatic, with experts warning that such activity could continue for weeks. An initial red alert that National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology (INGV) issued for aviation authorities, which estimated the height of the volcanic cloud at 6.5 kilometers, was downgraded to orange, then yellow. Sicily's nearby Catania airport remained open on Monday. And by mid-afternoon, INGV said the eruption had stopped with no ash cloud produced. And the president of the region of Sicily, Renato Schifani, said experts had assured him there was no danger for the population, with the flow not having passed the valley of the Lion, an area frequented by tourists. The head of the regional civil protection unit, Salvo Cocchina, recommended that tourists avoid the area. According to president of the Italian Association of Volcanology, Marco Vicaro, the volcano was in recharge phase, and the magma, usually much deeper within the earth, was now closer to the surface. How much of that magma had risen would determine how long the activity would continue. Torrential rains in northeast India resulted in a deadly landslide that crushed and killed 3 soldiers, with the 6 more missing, according to the Indian Army on Monday. Flash floods and landslides in the annual monsoon rains have killed at least 30 people in India's northeast states in the past week. The landslide that killed the soldiers took place on Sunday evening in the mountainous state of Sikkim, which shares a border with Nepal and China and hosts a large military presence. The army in a statement said that the massive landslide triggered by heavy rains struck an army camp around dusk on Sunday. The army on social media said a swathe of earth had semi-submerged a building and left a giant mud gash on a hillside. Flash floods are common during the monsoon season, which usually begins in June and eases by the end of September. South Asia is getting hotter and in recent years has seen shifting weather patterns, but scientists are unclear on how exactly a warming planet is affecting monsoons. Coming up in sports, time for Harimau Malaya to rewrite history against Vietnam. Stay with us.
Dua kuasa Asia Tenggara kini bakal berdepan. Amukan Harimau Malaya menanti untuk menggegar dengan 11 pejuang kini bersedia bagi memburu ruang ke kejohanan bola sepak terbesar Asia. Kelayakan Piala Asia AFC 2027 Malaysia bertemu Vietnam Selasa 10 Jun 8.30 minit malam di saluran OK dan sukan RTM juga di RTM Click.
National head coach Peter Klamovski has recognized the tough challenge ahead as Harimau Malaya aim to overturn more than a decade of winless results against Vietnam in the crucial Group F 2027 Asian Cup qualifiers next Tuesday. The Australian coach said he respects Vietnam but is determined to make history with Malaysia.
Well, Malaysia have never beaten Vietnam for over 10 years. That's over a decade of this moment that we want to overturn and change a bit of history. So, full respect to Vietnam. I don't concentrate on one player, I concentrate on the whole team. And we look forward to the challenge on June 10th.
The 46-year-old coach said this to reporters when met during national team's training session, which was also attended by Vietnamese media. At the same time, he praised Vietnam, who are led by South Korean Kim Sang-sik, as a strong and skillful side, adding that he has studied the entire squad. Vietnam and Malaysia jointly topped the group with 3 points each after winning their opening matches. For the record, the last time Malaysia defeated the Golden Star Warriors was in 2014 before suffering 7 defeats and managing just 1 draw in their 8 meetings across all competitions since. The last time the two teams met, Vietnam secured a 3-0 victory in the group stage of the 2022 ASEAN Football Federation AFF Cup, now known as the ASEAN Championship. Klamovski men will face world number 72 ranked Cape Verde in a closed-door friendly at the National Stadium in Bukit Jalil tomorrow night after the two sides played out a 1-1 draw in their Tier 1 international match at the Kuala Lumpur Football Stadium in Cheras last Thursday.
Lionel Messi will wear his Argentina shirt again for 2 matches with his beloved national team in the next 10 days before leading Inter Miami in the FIFA Club World Cup. Messi arrived in Argentina on Monday to rejoin the defending World Cup champions for qualifying matches for the 2026 tournament.
Under the guidance of the head coach Lionel Scaloni, Argentina will visit Chile on 5th June at Estadio Nacional Julio Martínez Pradonos in Santiago, Chile. Argentina will then host Colombia, a battle between the 2024 Copa America finalists, on 10th June inside Mas Monumental in Buenos Aires. Both matches fall during a FIFA international break between the MLS season and before the Club World Cup. Messi is coming off one of his best stretches during the 2025 MLS season, scoring 5 goals in his last 3 matches, helping Inter Miami improve from 6th to 3rd place in the MLS Eastern Conference. Argentina has 2 more World Cup qualifiers later this year. They will host Venezuela on 9th September and visit Ecuador on the 14th. Argentina tops the CONMEBOL standings with 31 points from 10 wins, 1 draw and 3 losses. Messi, meanwhile, has yet to declare whether he will play for Argentina for World Cup 2026.
In tennis, Yannick Sinner fired a warning sign to his French Open title rivals as he romped to a comprehensive victory over Andrei Rublev in their French Open last 16 on Monday. Russian 17-seed Rublev appeared to pose a tricky test on paper for Sinner, but the world number 1 instead sent it to a 6-1, 6-3, 6-4 win in the night session on court Philippe Chatrier. Novak Djokovic eased into a record-breaking 19th Roland Garros quarter-final with a comfortable straight sets victory over Cameron Norrie on Monday. The three-time French Open champion will renew his rivalry with third seed Alexander Zverev in the last 8 on Wednesday after seeing off Norrie 6-2, 6-3, 6-2 on court Philippe Chartier. In the women's draw, wall number 361, Loa Buisson, the last remaining French player in the singles draw, upset third seed Jessica Pegula 3-6, 6-4, 6-4 to reach her first French Open quarter-final on Monday. Coco Gauff reached a fifth successive French Open quarter-final on Monday as the wall number 2 brushed Russian 20th seed Ekaterina Alexandrova aside 6-love, 7-5. Gauff raced through the opening set quarter-final on Wednesday. That's it from us this afternoon. In our top story, Malaysia to develop ASEAN TVET certification and excellence hub. Malaysia Tonight comes to you at 8:30 this evening on TV1 and My TV's Berita RTM's news channel. From river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you for watching.